Let's get into the wild week that we've had here at Valuetainment on the PBD podcast and the SOSCAST, everything that's been going on. But it started with us being invited with PBD to go to JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience. And an experience it was, my friends.
Nice.
So, you know, they say your network is your net worth.
Yes.
And you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. Well, I'm glad that I roll with PBD.
Yeah.
Because he's like, hey, let's go. Get on the plane, get on the jet. We're going to Rogan, baby. Awesome, sick, let's do it. So he invited Vinny and myself to come join him in the studio with Rogan. Here's the crew of us getting on the plane. That's our HR guy, our editor-in-chief, our director of marketing. Mario's back there, head of sales. Obviously, Vinny, who runs the comedy department. Myself, who runs this show with Nat on the SOSCAST and co-host of the PBD podcast. And there's PBD right there, suited and booted and ready to go. Here's a little funny story. So on the way to the plane, the captain is basically saying, all right, you know, we're at a full flight, we're at capacity, blah, blah. It's an 8-person plane. There's 8 of you. All right, you know, we got to shift some weight around, that whole thing. And Pat goes, hold on, I got some gifts that I'm bringing Joe. Oh. They're like, all right, cool, gift. And one of the gifts was huge, humongous painting, which we'll show in a second. Yeah. Humongous piece of art. And we're like struggling to get the art in the plane. The captain's giving his little spiel. Yeah. The crew's giving the, hey, I don't know if it's gonna fit. PBD's like, we're making it fit, buddy. Okay, this is a not so subtle announcement. This is a freaking gift for the #1 podcast in the world, Joe Rogan Experience. Aww. This is coming with us. So after much shifting of objects, we got the big painting piece of art on the plane. But there's a story to that throughout the episode. So we go on the plane. There's the crew that you just saw on the plane. And we're on the jet. We did the gift thing. We got it on the jet, and we land in Austin. You're going to sense a theme here in this story, guys. A lot of meat. A lot of steak. A lot of beef. We land. Boom. Let's go steak for lunch. All right, cool. We go to the Capitol Grill. Amazing restaurant. Matt Zapala, the Money Smart guy who was here on the show recently, he was there with Tigran. He met us there with the Biz Doc. There was our crew, 10-person lunch, steak dinner, steak lunch, and there, boom, first piece of steak. All right, cool, we're ready for Rogan. We get to Rogan's set, which, ironically enough, is in a obscure, like, office complex. Almost looks like a strip mall situation. You would never know. It's like any sort of strip mall you would drive by. It's not some big palatial event space. It's not like what we have here at Valuetainment that says Valuetainment Studios all across. It's basically low-key, obscure, you would never know. Black curtains open up, and 3 security guards meet us. Hello, welcome to Joe Rogan Experience. Thank you, glad to be here. These guys are just, talk about top G. These guys don't play. Ex-military guys. Serious guys, but also very friendly. How they can sort of manage that friendly situation as well as being serious. So security guards greet us. They have us have a seat. They show us around. Sick artwork, sick sculptures, real life like Beowulf, werewolf situations, like 10-foot long, ridiculous. Rogan Studios, amazing. And out comes Joe Rogan. He's like, hey guys, how we all doing? Hey Joe, good to see you, buddy. All right, like not excited, but not like down, just very like
stoic,
if you will.
Stoic.
Just, this is what I do. Welcome to my experience. We're all like, and we're kind of like, yo, fucking Joe Rogan, what's up, baby? How you doing? Keep it cool, baby. Keep it cool, keep it cool. So he gives us a little tour, and he shows us around his compound. We talked about the Tates having a compound. This was massive, okay? Humongous. So he walks us through the, basically, let's say like the living room portion of Joe Rogan, which is huge, as big as this, right? Humongous. And we're thinking, all right, cool, how much bigger could it get? Pfft, got a lot bigger. So he walks us in a little corridor right there, shows us the gym. Probably the biggest open space gym I've ever seen. Huge American flag right in the middle. America. Love America. Huge. Vinny was like, oh, this is cool. Stepped on the MMA mat. Joe Rogan was like, get off the mat. Vinny's like, my bad. All right, cool. Like, that was the only time I saw Rogan lose his cool. Do not step with your shoes on the MMA mat. Vinny learned the hard way. Threw him over his shoulder, grappled him. No, that didn't happen, but it almost got to that point.
I bet.
Vinny almost learned the hard way. So he gives us the tour. We see the gym. It's amazing. Then we go to his recovery room, which is like this ice bath, salt bath, like thing you float on. Basically saying this is where I covered. Joe is yoked up, okay? Like, I don't know, Joe's maybe like 5'7", muscle, like lean. His head is big, his arms are big, body's big. Homie's working out. Oh, there's Joe Rogan right there. We can punch in right there. Homie is like, he's like how a running back is built. Short and stout and muscular as hell and muscles on muscles. Dude's a beast.
Yeah.
Okay? Not messing with Rogan. So he continues to give us a tour, and he gives us a tour of his shooting range. Huge long haul shooting range, bow and arrow.
This is all one place.
All big one place.
Wow.
Huge corridor, amazing. He's giving myself, obviously PBD and Vinny the tour. Sam was there as well. Shout out to Sam. And Rogan's just giving us a tour. No security guard, just the four of us going on a little tour of his complete compound. We're seeing, all right, how's your shot, Joe? He's like, yeah, it was like a buck at the end, like not a real life deer buck, but maybe 50 yards that away. He's like, yeah, one shot wonder, hit that out there. He's like, want to give it a shot? I'm like, nah, I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm gonna shoot hoops. Yeah. So it was awesome. Then he took us to basically the pool hall, where this is the funny part. This is why I wanted to bring up all the pictures and the gifts that PBD was bringing. Gifts, pictures galore. Some haven't even been hung up yet. So we make the joke. I'm like, Pat, glad you brought more than one gift, because if it was just a picture, it might just join the rest that haven't been hung up yet.
Yeah. But
obviously people respect Joe. He's the GOAT of podcasting. We all know that. People come bearing gifts, and there's so many gifts that have given him that he hasn't been putting up yet. Wow. Ironically enough, the first picture when you walk in was a sick picture of Anthony Bourdain, of all people. And it was like a real life face sculpture of Anthony Bourdain, who famously was the guy that basically toured the world, seeing the world, experiencing everything, had some of probably the coolest job in the world, was dealing with depression, drug addiction, and had an ill-fated ending to his life. But we actually talked about Anthony Bourdain for a little bit. Renaissance man is how I would talk about him. So then we made a joke about, thank God we got more than pictures, which we'll discuss in a second. And then it was time to start the show. So PBD, Joe, they walk into the studio, they give us a tour of the actual studio that we've all seen a million different times on the Joe Rogan podcast. Jamie was in there, cool, closed the door, and we sat right outside of the studio, Vinny, myself, there's three security guards, and watched the show in real time, which came out probably 48 hours later. If you haven't seen the PBD episode with Joe Rogan, it's sick. I think it was a 3-hour podcast, millions of views already, awesome time, awesome experience. And we just sat there watching the episode. They covered everything from politics to masculinity, femininity, everything that's going on with ESG and DEI and woke go broke. They talked about that. And one of the biggest things that I remember was the bet that, not the bet, the encouragement for Rogan to have Trump on the Joe Rogan Experience, which was a very interesting conversation if you haven't seen that right now. PBD sort of gave his pitch as to why Joe should consider having Trump on the Rogan podcast. Let's put a poll up right now. Do you want to see Donald Trump on Rogan? Or do you think Rogan will have Trump as a guest? PBD gave his pitch. He basically said, imagine if, Holyfield never fought Tyson, if Muhammad Ali never fought George Foreman, Liston Frazier, all the GOATs, imagine if they never fought. So we never got to see Kobe play Michael. We missed that. We never saw Tom Brady versus Mahomes. Actually, we did see that, and Brady won. GOAT versus GOAT. It was amazing. But then the coup de grace of the entire Rogan episode was PBD gave him the gifts at the end. Oh. So I told a story about how we struggled to get the painting in there, and we wanted to get all the gifts and the weight and everything like that, because these gifts are pretty big. but it was pretty interesting because I'm sitting out there with the security guards are like, he get gifts all the time. Like, it's going to be very hard to impress Joe with gifts.
Yeah.
But if you know anything about PBD, he puts a lot of pride and effort into giving his guests or people that invite him on podcasts really memorable gifts. Right. He goes all out. Like the gifts he got Tate, Quran, Bible, something that was very meaningful to him. He went all out for that. So I believe we have a clip of PBD presenting the gifts on the Joe Rogan podcast. So let's play that clip real quick. 1.5.
The sound.
You have sound?
Okay. Signed by Gerald Ford. Okay, the letter to the right is the Warren Commission. Then you have the autograph of Jack Ruby. Then you got the autograph of Lee Harvey Oswald, and you got the autograph of John F. Kennedy.
Wow.
Okay. So I hope you like this. With the letter, COA, all of it. Okay. And then the last one, I'm convinced.
So pause it for a second. So that was the big gift painting that we struggled to get in the plane. There were several other gifts that he gave him before that. There was a Jimi Hendrix pen because he's a big Jimi Hendrix fan. There was a signed letter by the first quote unquote anti-establishment president, Andrew Jackson, who Trump sort of mirrored himself after. There was this painting right here was basically the main people affiliated with the JFK assassination. Okay, so there was Jack Ruby, Gerald Ford from the Warren Commission that he talked about, Lee Harvey Oswald hit all their signatures, and then if you can go back to the image, a signature from JFK himself.
Yeah.
So this impressed Rogan, and it certainly impressed his people. So as PBD's giving the gifts, the Jimi Hendrix pen, the Andrew Jackson gift, the guys are kind of like, yeah, you know, we've seen gifts like this before. It's cool, but not the coolest thing, whatever. All of a sudden they show this thing. All of a sudden the guys are like, oh, that was pretty cool, bro. That was pretty cool. So the security guards who have basically been with Rogan for years, his crew are like, that's a pretty sick gift, man. So I'm reading the room like, all right, we did good. Thank God we brought that. But at the same time, we just saw dozens of paintings and pieces of art that weren't put up on the wall. So we're like, all right, you know, maybe if this was the coup de grace, the main gift, it might not even make the wall. So we're kind of having that joke internally. But then he gave him the last gift. And this was something that, again, PBD thinks very hard and very thoughtful of the gifts that he's giving. And this was the gift that he got Rogan that actually I think Rogan was starstruck about. He's like, holy shit, I can't believe you got me this. And even the security guards were like, yo, he loves that gift. So it was pretty interesting. So PBD came bearing gifts, some of which were like, all right, cool gift. I get gifts all the time. But here's the gift that basically got Rogan a little out of his seat a little bit. Let's play the rest of that clip.
Lenny Bruce used. Okay.
So
That's going.
Rogan's,
That's going.
pause that for a sec. Rogan's favorite comedian of all time is the legendary Lenny Bruce, who was a cutting edge comedian in the 50s. If you've ever seen the show, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which I think is streaming on Amazon Prime, he's a character in that movie. So before there was Dave Chappelle, before there was Eddie Murphy, before there was Richard Pryor, before there was George Carlin, before there was some of the biggest comedians that we all know about, there was Lenny Bruce. And that was his guy. So PBD, I think, explains he contacted Lenny Bruce's daughter and basically worked out a deal to get his microphone, his mic that he would travel with as a gift for Joe Rogan. Play the end of that clip if you don't mind.
Wow.
Now, if you don't want to do it that way, you want to put the stand, we got the stand there as well.
Oh, no, come on, man. That's
If you
perfect
put
on
the
wall.
frame, you got the frame.
Yeah, we need the frame. That's amazing.
So, you know, for me, when I was, you know, we were wanting to come down sooner, that was the missing piece. That's the one I wanted to get for you.
Wow.
And I said, let's wait till we get that and then we'll come and present it to him.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow.
I know for a guy like you, Joe, it takes, you know, when people give me gifts, it's kind of hard to get a gift for somebody that they're going to have a reaction to because you can buy all this stuff yourself. But the hard thing is finding it. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, by the way, there's letters, handwritten letters by him, how he took notes to prepare with his jokes. We got all that stuff in the back as well.
Wow.
Sam will give it to you later on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
thoughtful.
Anytime, brother. So.
That's the most shit anybody's ever given me.
Really? There you go.
It's
Yeah.
like Christmas.
I got that for you. By the way, my book is coming out in December. I mean, you can't buy the book right now. My book comes out December 5th. But they sent me the first copy of the book. It's titled Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And it's not an easy thing to choose your enemies wisely. Most people choose the wrong enemies. Portfolio sent us the first copy of Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And my first copy they gave to me, I'm giving to you, brother.
Thank you.
Again, people can't buy it till December 5th. But these are gifts from us to you. You're a very important guy. You're a super likable guy. And I'm talking to your guys. And I said, so how's it feel working here, man? He says, man, Joe's the coolest guy to work for. We love Joe. Everybody loves you. You know, for what you've been able to do the last few years, I got a lot of respect for you. There's a level of admiration for you. There's true love for you. There's true protection for you. I have a natural tendency of protecting people that I think are needed to be protected. You don't need any protection when it comes into a street fight. I can't protect you in a street fight, bro. That's you. You know how to fight and take care of yourself. But I think there's got to be people that fight in different ways. Their weapon is a different weapon. My weapon is words, and my weapon is the way I process issues. You got a guy here that is going to be fighting for you for a long time, bro.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way about you. I have a lot of respect and love for you as well.
Yeah.
I think you're a very important voice out there, and I think what you do is very admirable. And you don't have to do it. Like, this is not how you made your money. This is just something that you decided to pursue because you have interest in it and because you think it's important. And I admire that a lot.
I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for coming on,
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me.
Anytime.
It's great.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again when your book comes out.
All good. Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
So it was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they came out of the podcast. We had the chance to speak for probably 20 minutes. What was your favorite part? What was this? What was that? What was that? We took pictures. We all hung out. Had some coffee. Had a little snack. And I said, hey, Joe, because this is my first time full on hanging out with Joe
Yeah.
in years. Now you might say, well, what do you mean in years?
Yeah.
I said, Joe, he goes, so what's your deal? I go, I was a former nightlife guy, former comedian. I got into finance. Now I'm doing the podcasting thing. Sort of a, Renaissance man in that regard. I go, funny story for you. We hung out one time in 2004 at the Aspen Comedy Festival. He goes, 2004 at the Aspen Comedy Festival. I go, do you remember being there? He goes, yeah, I do. I go, in even more ironic fashion, you and I went on a double date.
What?
He's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? So I reminded him that I met this girl out there in Aspen, and she's like, hey, let's go hang out. I'm gonna hang out with a girlfriend of mine. She knows a guy. We're all gonna go out. I was like, all right, cool. So I go meet up with my girl. She brings her girl, and she brings, as her date, friend, whatever, Joe Rogan.
What?
I'm like, and this is Fear Factor Joe Rogan. This is
Yeah.
not Joe Rogan, like this is Joe Rogan, like how you knew him before, not this current Joe Rogan. And he's like, hold on, what was it? I do not remember this girl's name. He's like, I was like, yeah, you were rocking like a hat. Oh, the hat! I used to wear that hat everywhere.
Yes.
On my little like Kangol hat. He goes, and then you remember the name of the girl? He's like, yeah, I do remember that. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, good seeing you 20 years later, Joe. By the way, how's life worked out for you in the last 20 years? He goes, it's going pretty good, dude.
Wow.
So he's doing what he's loved, and I remember that, but it was interesting. But just to see where Joe Rogan is at now, from the 2004 Aspen Comedy Festival when I was doing stand-up out there in Denver at the time, is pretty incredible. So he goes, hey, listen, guys, tonight you're my guests at my comedy club that he just opened up in Austin, balcony seating, VIP, bring the whole crew. Amazing, we got seats for you. I'll come kick it with you guys before the show. Amazing. We're like, cool. So we have this Joe Rogan Experience. The podcast was amazing. It went awesome. Obviously, it's going viral right now. We're telling jokes, the Aspen Comedy Festival, all good. Took pictures. Awesome experience at the Joe Rogan Experience. So then PBD's like, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. So we've already had a steak lunch. So now it's, I don't know, we started the podcast at like 1 or 2. By this time, it's like 5 or 6. All right, let's go to another steak dinner.
Yeah.
So we go to another steak dinner. I'm like, all right, more meat. Let's do it. So we have I think we went to the Capitol Grill first. Now we're at Fleming Steakhouse, amazing steakhouse in Austin. We do that. I'm like, all right, cool. Like another steak dinner, all good. We clean up a little bit. Then we go to the comedy club, and Joe Rogan gave us like the red carpet treatment. Our crew, we walked in like the kitchen, like back door. It was almost like a Goodfellas movie where we're walking through basically behind the scenes. He takes us up the back stairs, puts us in the balcony. Awesome. Spends, I don't know, 20 minutes before the show with all of us, hanging out. awesome times. We're having some drinks, we're having some food, we're just having a good time. The comedy club in Austin is sick. There was an opener. It was a very eclectic group. It was an opener. He was like a Muslim comedian. Then there was the feature. He was like this black, cool dude, slow talking dude, talking about, I don't know, me and my girl drama, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Then Tony Hinchcliffe came on.
Oh.
Who basically, he's been on the
Tony.
PBD podcast.
Yeah.
Who, part of his act is like, people think I'm gay, but I'm not gay, but I actually might be gay. I don't know. Figuring it out. He's very controversial, hilarious guy. And then the headliner at Joe Rogan's Comedy Club was none other than Joe Rogan himself. So he did an hour comedy. It was awesome. It was hilarious. And it's been labeled the anti-woke comedy club. It was completely cutting edge, controversial, but raw and real. It was an awesome experience. It was, I don't know, 2-hour show, courtesy of Rogan. We're sitting up in the balcony having the amazing time, awesome time. We're cracking up. And then after the show, he comes up and he's like, what are you guys up to now? We're like, I don't know. He's like, how about a late night steak dinner? We're like, holy shit, we're meat out. So we go to his favorite steak restaurant in Austin. We shut down the restaurant. There's his crew, the comedians, our crew, Valuetainment crew. We're all sitting together, huge, big tables put together, and we are ordering everything. Steak, meat, beef, bone marrow. Like, there wasn't a vegetable in sight or wasn't a vegan platter in sight.
Yikes.
I feel bad for our vegetarian friends. So we just, I think in a span of like 10 hours, we had our third steak meal. But when you roll with Rogan, you're eating meat.
Yeah.
All good. So it was an amazing experience. A lot of meat. My biggest takeaways was, obviously beyond how cool of an experience it was, the hospitality was, someone like Rogan has sort of seen it all. He sat down with Musk, he sat down with Zuck, he sat down with all sorts of people of all walks of life, comedians, political figures, astrophysicists, commentators, all walks of life. Nothing impresses him, I would say. But that's just because he's seen it all. But at still the same time, he stays very humble, very cool. But the biggest takeaway I would say is that even at dinner, he sat with all his comedian buddies. That's his crew. Those are his running mates. He stayed very loyal to those guys. And if you're lucky enough to be in Rogan's crew, you know, you just consider yourself lucky, just like I consider myself lucky rolling with PBD and the VT crew. Finding your running mates in life is probably the most important thing that you can find. And it was interesting to see Rogan being very protective of his crew and very loyal to his crew.
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask you, you know, it's funny because some of your experiences that you're going through now, you're receiving a different end of these relationships that you may have even had in the past. So it's like, a question for you is like, as you're experiencing some of these people and celebrities and the experiences that you're going through, do you ever like take a step back and think like, whoa, like I'm in a different phase of my career where I'm at the front end of with these celebrities now, you know? You used to be in the comedian, your come up phase, and now you're hanging out with people like Joe Rogan, Vivek, you're having different conversations. Like, I guess my question to you is, where do you kind of, when you take a step back and see how you went from the back end to the front end, where you kind of like, where are you at with that? What do you see in that perspective? Because now you see different.
Number one, good things take time. You know, a lot of people want to kind of have that microwave hustle, get rich quick mentality. Understand that this is 20 years in the making, okay? I didn't just, you know, magically wake up one day and have all these experiences. No, I put in the work. And a lot of people don't want to wait or pay their dues or put in the work, or they want instant success, or they want to have these types of relationships happen overnight. This is a slow-moving process. I knew Pat for 10 years before I joined Valuetainment. You know, it took me many years of cold calling to actually become a millionaire. So good things take time. And then at the same time, having gratitude, knowing that things can be taken away from you in a second, not having a big head like, you know, I'm so cool, you know, I'm the coolest guy in the world. No, I'm still a regular dude. I just happen to be hanging out with more influential, important people. But don't let it get to your head. I think that's the number one thing, is that a lot of people will let success or who you hang out with get to your head. No. I think it's important to just stay humble, stay foolish, keep grinding, knowing that especially here at Valuetainment, the future looks bright and the best is yet to come. So for hanging out with the Rogans of the world, or the Tates of the world, or the DeSantises of the world, or the Viveks of the world, or the Alex Jones of the world, this didn't happen by accident. We put in work. You know, what do we say out here? Outwork, out-strategize, out-improve, outlast. You know, this is something that we plan on doing for the next 20, 40 years. Our run rate is very long. So don't do anything to fuck it up.
So if you like that clip, click right here to watch another, or if you want to watch the entire SOSCAST, click right here.